Fuck it, we'll do it live.
That's false. We are not live.
Fuck it, we'll
Well,
do it live.
We're live recording, I guess, but we're not.
In
live
this
in the
very
flesh.
moment, we're live. Yeah, we are.
As far as I
alive.
know, unless the FBI agent's watching. I don't
To
have a
live
webcam.
doesn't mean you're alive.
For real.
Said Nicki Minaj.
I was going to say, shout out John Lennon for that.
Shut up. Who?
John Lennon, I don't know. It's just some shit he would say.
To live doesn't mean
these
you're
are actually
alive.
fire.
And yes, that shit. Yeah, this one's
clean as
that
fuck.
one's dope.
Looking at stickers for that John just fucking
The
spawned.
past election.
Who won?
Um,
Can you disclose that legally?
It is public information. I just
Okay.
don't. There's a lot of different positions, so I think
That's fine.
most of the important ones remain the same.
Word.
Couple new guys won.
Word.
I'd rather not disclose. Well, I mean, anyone who watches this probably knows what local I'm in, but I'd rather not say it.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Just in case I get canceled.
Yeah, I've heard it say more of a cult than like actual employment, so
Yeah.
that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
I could probably oh, I can't see the table. Yeah, you're chilling.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyways.
It's not like a massive deal.
Welcome to the next episode. Hey, hey, hey,
I was
hey.
gonna say, ready for the next episode. Hey.
Fuck, what happened since last time? The Seas
Smoke
fucking-
weed every day.
The Seas fucking blew it. That's what.
Yeah,
that's
the
one thing
Celtics
that
choked.
happened. I think the last time we talked, it was before
Celtics
game
said-
5.
The
The Curb Your Enthusiasm shit when they after they won game 6. Yeah, it was bad.
Just like the screenshot of Tatum's ankle rolled.
Literally. Jason Tatum. I mean Jaylen Brown turning the ball over. Yeah,
I fucking love
it was
Jason
brutal.
Tatum. I mean Jaylen Brown. He's
You
just
hate him?
no, I love him.
Oh, facts.
But-
yeah, he needs to work on his bag, so to speak, in the off season.
I think he's gonna want $300 million in the offseason, and
They're gonna
then
give it
no
to
one's
him.
gonna give it to him.
No, we're gonna give it to him 100%.
No, and then he's gonna claim it's like a racial thing.
No, that's
It
just how
just
basketball
seems-
works, bro. There's been worse players that have gotten maximum contracts before. He's shown enough. I honestly wouldn't be against it because this is what I was thinking. Because I think I tweeted this before.
How long do we
That
have
I
Tatum
wouldn't
for?
want him, huh?
How long do we have Tatum for?
Until he retires, probably. Not actually. I think he got extended. No, he
That's what I'm
hasn't.
saying. Like, what's
he
his
gets
official
2
contract?
more years, then an extension. I think.
He gets 2, then an extension.
Yeah, 'cause he's a year
Guaranteed
behind
extension?
Brown. I mean, no, but yeah, he's Jason Tatum. So.
Oh, all right.
I
I don't know.
No, I think he's just because he was drafted before Brown or after Brown, a year after. So if he's getting,
Was he?
yeah,
Yeah.
because Brown's extension would be next year. So like next season, I don't think people know this. Next season,
No.
Jaylen Brown's under contract. Like we have him for next season regardless.
Oh,
And
we
then
do?
the whole talk is about his extension that would take place the year after that.
Right.
And beyond.
I don't think he's proven that he's a $300 million player. I don't know.
He hasn't.
then again,
at
I
the
don't
same
watch
time,
enough
he's
basketball.
Only 27.
I don't know
or-
much enough basketball
yeah,
to understand like what a $300 million player looks
well,
like.
well, that's what I was gonna say. So
me,
300
I
mil
think of,
sounds like
like,
a ton, but
it-
also everybody's making more money than. The thing about basketball is that's kind of weird is that
Yes,
the cap goes up every year, which people know obviously because most sports the cap goes up a little bit every year.
Yeah.
But in basketball it's like a lot every year. Like there's a big jump. So like
Right, because they're like
if
good at
you-
marketing and stuff.
yeah, I don't know if you've noticed, but like literally every year it's like
Well, Adam Silver's like
It's
a
like-
really good commish, it seems.
XYZ gets the or fucking whatever player X gets the biggest contract ever in NBA history, and they say this
Right,
every
right,
year
right,
because it goes
Yeah.
up every year.
I would say of the 4 major sports, Adam Silver seems like really the only likable commissioner. Gary Bettman's a pussy. I can't stand him.
I
I,
don't know,
guess
is that
Rob
hockey?
Manfred is like, yeah.
No, people don't like him either.
People don't
so-
seem to like him.
No, not at all. People hate him.
I mean,
actually.
everybody hates Goodell.
Yeah, that's
so, like,
that's
He's like made it a point, like a selling point of like
Yeah.
how much people hate him. Yeah, Gary Bettman just like comes out. He's like, "What a season they had!" It's the fucking. It makes me want to punch him through the screen. I'm like, "Give it up for the 2012." What is it? And he does it. I don't know why he does that. He's like he shakes his head
mad
back and
weird.
forth.
just a tweaker. No, but so yeah, so
Anywho, sorry.
the discussion centered after the game. Obviously, like first thoughts, or people were like,
well,
"Alright,
yeah,
trade him for Damian
recency
Lillard."
bias and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are like trading for Damian Lillard, which makes sense. I said that before too. But what I saw, somebody made a good point. So Dame is on that max contract that Jaylen Brown wants. He's already on. So he's gonna be making upwards of 60 mil when he's like 38 years old,
I was gonna say you have to win.
and he's like 36 already.
That's
or
what you'd have to
37,
win within the
30,
next-
35, 36, whatever.
You
And
have
so
to
yeah,
win
your
the
window
next
is like 2
seasons,
years
yeah.
because obviously you're not gonna he's
Right.
either not gonna be good or you're not gonna pay him beyond that because he's not gonna be good. You know what I mean? He's just old.
Right.
No, so he's just old. So I'm like, all right. So if he's getting that money, Jaylen Brown's going to get that money. Would you rather pay 28-year-old or 27-year-old Jaylen Brown that money,
Yeah.
or 30-year-old,
Is
36-year-old
he
Damian
even
Lillard.
27?
I thought I saw
even
he's 27.
27?
Yeah, he's either 27 or 28.
There's
he's
no way
definitely-
he's 28.
He's definitely 27. Yeah. Anyways, my point is,
Yeah.
somebody will want Jaylen Brown when he's on that contract.
He's 26.
regardless. He's 26. Perfect. So the contract will kick in when he's 27 or 28, depending on what
Yeah.
his birthday is, whatever. But anyways,
October 24th.
it'll always be a movable contract. He's not, because like I said, the cap goes up. So he's going to get this money this year, and then next year someone else is going to get the same contract, whether it's fucking Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, whether it's Zion, whether it's Brandon Ingram. Like, someone else is going to get the exact same contract when they make All-NBA. It just happens to be Jaylen Brown first because of the timing of it,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So
get that rule,
the
too.
contract will always be movable, which is why I don't have a problem with it, because I think he's going to improve. There's literally no way this is the peak of Jaylen Brown.
Right.
He's improved every year on something, at least.
Yeah.
And I just feel like the thing I like the most is that he took accountability for it, and he was like, he said specifically that he let the city down and like he let the team down. And
Which
then
he didn't really, but I mean,
no, he didn't, but he also didn't really help our
but
case.
I wouldn't blame it entirely on him.
No, definitely. I mean, if Tatum didn't get injured, we probably would have won. But I
think
I
so.
shouldn't say that. I guess
I think we would have won.
We
Also,
probably would have played a
we
lot
didn't have
better.
any fucking depth at all. Like, we have Derek White.
That's the thing, is that
Grant Williams.
we do have depth, but they just like, I don't know, dude. Something about that Miami team just like makes it feel like you don't like.
Dogs.
Like, yeah, they really are just a bunch of fucking.
They shot the fucking lights out all 4 of the wins.
I know, and it's weird because
And it wasn't even like oh my god, the Celtics aren't trying. It was just I was just like the Heat just don't
Caleb
fucking
Martin don't
miss.
miss.
It's unbelievable. Like,
Caleb Martin
I was
do
watching,
not
I think it was
miss.
game 2 or 3, and I was just like, what is going on right now? They put
Yeah.
up 45 and a quarter. And
So
I was
what
just
happened was, for the entirety of the season,
Like, I
basically,
was like, bruh.
except for the last, like, we'll say, like, 20 games. For the first, like, 60 games of the season, they shot, like, regular shooters. Like, league average, 33, 34%. The last 20 games of the season, like, Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, they start shooting, like, 40, 42, 43, whatever. Like, high percentage shots. And then people are like, well, whatever. People get hot, so it's not really that big of a deal. First round goes by. They beat the Bucks, obviously. People were like, all right, well, they're still hot because they ended the season so well. So we're like, whatever, fuck it. It's just a hot spell. They play against the Knicks. They go back to like what they were before, where they're all shooting like 30%. They shot like 30% as a team against the Knicks. And people were like, all right, well, that's the Miami that we've seen all year.
That went 7 games too, didn't it? Or 6?
No, it went 6.
Yeah.
But we're like, all right, that's the Miami that we've seen
That
all
wasn't like a
year.
pushover
So that
series.
makes sense.
Like, whatever.
Well, that's what I'm about to say, is that
Right.
you can get away with that against the Knicks because the Knicks were in a position they didn't belong. They
Okay.
didn't belong to. They shouldn't have been there. That's what I'm saying. Just because their team, I mean, they just have a super young team at this point, and they have their best player, Julius Randle. He was injured for like 2 of the games, I think, or 1 of the games, and then hobbled for the rest of it. And people say, I mean, say what you want about Julius Randle, but he's a solid player.
Yeah, I'll comment on that after.
Yeah, and so anyways, they should have. That's a team that you can afford to shoot poorly against
Excuse me.
because they don't shoot well either. Whereas like their whole thing is like the reason they were there is because of their defense. They have like one of the best defenses.
Who,
in
the
league.
Heat or
The Knicks.
The Knicks. Oh.
Yeah. So then they shoot regular. People are like, all right, well now they're back. They've regressed to the mean basically. Like they're back to where they should be. They should
Snap
be
back to
shooting
reality. Up there goes gravity.
per se.
Right.
Depending who you ask. But and then so then they play us. They go back to shooting high percentage shots. I'm hoping that it carries off the Nuggets series because it would just be fucking tragic if it didn't, because there's just no way they're gonna beat the
I think the
Nuggets.
Nuggets are gonna.
Because I mean, you watch the Heat, you're like, those dudes were dominant. Like they were playing. They beat the Bucks in 5 games or 6 games or whatever. Like
Dude,
they
the
were
Nuggets
dominant.
are gonna. Oh my
Dude, the
God.
Nuggets are in a league of their own. So like, if they don't show up, I mean, it'll just if the shooters don't show up, I should say. Jimmy Butler will always show up, but if the shooters don't show up, I mean, that could be a 5-game series. So, anyways, yeah.
I mean,
Shout out to Miami. I mean, I can't even be mad.
Just the Nuggets are gonna fucking.
People remember.
Oh, it didn't work. It didn't work.
People remember.
I was trying to
Adams
censor
catch-
it without having to pay, but
Yeah, no, it's
there you go. Their fucking faces, dude.
yeah, for real.
No,
No,
I
they
really
really
don't
will.
think that's gonna be a good series. Like,
The
but I don't
Nuggets-
know. I mean, everyone's been saying it the entire playoffs about the Heat, and then they just keep winning. So.
The thing I will say too is that the Nuggets probably have more reliable shooters, and they have
The Nuggies are sick.
for real. They have like a weird like No, so they have like the ideal team where like you have a point guard that's a superstar. I mean, he's not, but he is in the playoffs. Like Jamal Murray's the fucking guy.
Yeah.
And you have Michael Porter Jr., who's like a wing that's like a 3-and-D wing,
Phenomenally
but also
talented.
he's just way better than
Super
3-and-D.
athletic.
Yeah, and he's been locking people down.
Right.
He locked down LeBron last series. And
LeBron
then you have the
killer?
best center in the league. You have the best player in the league, if you ask me, which is
Yeah.
Jokic. So it's
Yeah.
like you have 3 guys. So you have like a primary stopper on at the point guard position. Then you have a wing that can stop, and you have a center that's been playing defense. Like,
Yep.
they have the recipe figured out. And then all the rest of the role players, they can all shoot and they can all defend for the most part. So it's like, it's just I don't know, dude. But then it's like, what's the fucking phrase where it's like a unstoppable force meets an immovable object or whatever? Like,
Yeah.
that's literally the only way that Miami can win. Is just out of the fucking sheer heart that they have on that team. The talent is just not there. But
I guess.
it's just like, it's just so weird. It's like, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know how to predict it.
I will say that I don't know many other players besides like Jamal Murray, Porter, and Jokic.
I mean, they have a couple guys. They got,
Aaron
like
Gordon.
Bruce
pretty
Brown.
good.
Aaron Gordon's like a really good defender. He's probably like,
He's kind of like blossomed.
people call Aaron Gordon like the best non-all-star in the league. As like,
Yeah.
you would never say he's an all-star player, but he's like,
He's super talented.
he's like
consistent.
he's the line. So like, if you're better than Aaron Gordon, you're probably an all-star. If you're worse than Aaron Gordon, you're not an all-star.
Yeah.
Like, he's the line. And he's been phenomenal. I mean, he's just been there. The thing I like about players like him is that he played in Orlando for a while. I'm sure you knew that, but he played in Orlando for a while, and he didn't really like do much besides just kind of like as like a dunker and like a. He wasn't like, he can't really shoot that well. Still, he's not like a great shooter, but like, he's just like, he's joined the Nuggets, and since he's joined the Nuggets, he's just like
He's like a different
perfect.
role, it seems.
Like, just he's
Well,
perfect.
he's kind of like, he was kind of the dude in Orlando, and he's just
Yeah,
not
him
that
and
kind of
Vucevic
player,
were
it
definitely
seems.
like 2 of the fucking guys, and the same with Fournier. They had Fournier back then too, and
Oh, who
he's
else did
pretty
they have?
solid.
Orlando had that, the tall, skinny kid.
Mo
Sorry.
Bamba.
I guess no. That kind of
Probably
doesn't.
did have
that's-
Mo Bamba, but
What the fuck was his name?
Franz
Isaac
Wagner?
or something? Isaac?
oh, John Isaac.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
nasty,
he's
isn't he?
still there. No, he's pretty ass now.
Oh.
To be honest, he's just been
Ooh.
riddled with injuries. I think he missed an entire season because of injuries. So he's also like a fucking.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he
he's
didn't
also
play for like
fucking-
2 years, didn't he?
He's tapped. Yeah,
Or something like that.
he's low key. He's low key the same personality as Kyrie. He's just not as famous, so like people don't really talk about it.
Are they first team all like mental blockage? Because they had fucking what's his name
Yeah.
too?
Who?
The kid we drafted, or we were supposed to draft with
Magic?
IT. Yeah.
Oh, Markelle Fultz. No, 'cause
Markelle
Markelle
Fultz.
Fultz isn't like. No. I'm saying John Isaac is like tapped. Like he's
Yeah. Then
he's
Markelle
like a
Fultz
flat
like,
world-
forgot how to play basketball.
he's like a flat worlder. Like
oh,
yeah,
flat earther,
flat earth or whatever. Like
flat worlder,
I don't know if that's actually true, but he's like on that level of like, okay,
flat tits,
all right, buddy.
comedy.
You, you know the fucking meme where they're like rolling the grandma back to the fucking.
Oh yeah.
That's the rest of
Let's
the
get you to
Magic
bed.
team with John Isaac. Yeah,
All right, let's get you to the
he's,
locker room.
he's injured. They put him in a fucking asylum for a year. They're like, figure this shit out, dude.
They put him on an island by
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. I mean,
No, the craziest part though, one more thing. If they did
Yeah.
that, he would be like, and he came back, he'd be like, yeah, I mean, that's just what God intended for me. So I
right,
had to,
right.
I had to just weather
Oh,
the storm.
thank God.
Anyways,
What I was gonna say, like, I think of all the major sports, NBA has the worst fans by far.
oh, 100%.
Like,
No one's ever satisfied. You could win the championship.
Yeah, and
and
they'd
you're
be
like, all
like-
right, well, here's the trades for next season.
right, and like they were like ripping down fucking what's his name,
Julius Randle posters.
Yeah, and I was
he's
just like,
literally injured. If you
he's-
watch the series, he's literally like limping around.
yeah,
And I will say he doesn't do himself justice because when he misses a bucket, he's like sulking and
yeah.
he doesn't get
And
back
also,
on
let me
defense.
just
He
say
doesn't
something
rebound.
too. Let me just say something too. The New York Knicks are fucking. If they weren't in New York, they wouldn't even be in the league anymore. They
Oh,
would have
they
shipped
are
them to
terrible.
fucking
They-
Washington or something.
Yeah, they haven't been they haven't
They're
been good.
irrelevant.
I don't think they've been good since before I was born. To
The
be honest.
only good, like the only thing about the Knicks that is marketable is that they're the Knicks. Like
It's
is
that
the
they had
history.
Carmelo
Is the
Anthony 4
history.
years ago.
Like
10
of
years
like
ago at this point.
they were like good in the 80s, I think.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think they made the finals as the 8th seed in '92 or something. I think that's the thing people keep spitting around because Miami's made it as the 8th seed now. But like that's pretty much it. Like they had Patrick Ewing, and then that was it.
And they haven't
They
been
haven't
good.
been
Like they're
relevant
they're so
And
irrelevant.
hot take: Carmelo Anthony, great player, love the guy. I mean, he didn't do shit in New York. I mean, they made the playoffs like twice, and he was there for like a fucking decade. I feel
Yeah.
like so. It's like even then, it's like
He had some highlights, but
no, definitely. I mean, and
that's like it.
but if you watch a Carmelo Anthony highlight tape, it's just the same shit. It's all regular season highlights
Yeah.
because he just
And
doesn't.
he had like
they
that
don't make
one
the
game where he
playoffs.
had like 3 threes at the end of the playoff
Yeah,
game. And
sure.
everyone was like,
Cool.
"Ooh."
They lost the series.
Right.
Who
Yeah.
cares?
I just like I don't know. It's just because they're a big market.
Yeah,
like,
it's literally just because they're in New York, 100%. Same with Brooklyn. Brooklyn was only relevant because Kyrie was from New Jersey,
yeah,
and they wanted a player to go there.
and
now
they were
they're-
good like
Now they're back to being relevant
with Jason Kidd when they were
Yeah.
in New Jersey.
when they were in New Jersey, exactly. But now they're just back to being a little bro.
I
Shout out
don't-
Mikal Bridges,
I don't
though.
know. The whole thing is just like, and the only reason they're relevant is Julius Randle. Like
Oh yeah,
he's their
him
only
and Jalen
marketable
Brunson,
like, or Jalen
Yeah.
Brunson. Yeah,
Jalen Brunson's solid too.
yeah.
He's probably their best player now, but yeah, 100%.
My point being is like he's your guy. Like if he wasn't on this
100%.
team, no one would watch.
if he
the
wasn't on
game.
this team, you wouldn't have made the playoffs.
Like, right?
I don't
and
think
then
people
like
realize how
they lose a series because he's hurt, and they're like, kill this guy.
literally.
It's just like
And it sucks because, like I said, he doesn't help himself out because he's like a sulker and he doesn't.
Right.
Really, he is.
he's
People
young
call
as
him,
shit though, isn't
people call him like the body language king because like
Yeah.
you can tell when he's having a bad game just by looking at. Like you don't even see him like. You can just see the transitions like in between offense and defense, and you can just tell if he's having a good or a bad game.
he? Yeah.
Which sucks, but yeah, he's young. I mean, he's not young as in like he's not 20, but he's like in his 20s still. Like he's not.
right.
old,
He could
so-
develop.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I don't know. And it's like.
They have Spike Lee and Julius Randle.
Yeah, for real. And Jalen Brunson now.
And
Shout
Jalen
out to
Brunson.
Jalen Brunson for fucking reviving that franchise. But yeah, I mean, literally the only reason that they're relevant is because of Julius Randle. And I mean, they have a good, like I said, they have a good defensive team. They have a solid young core going over there with like they got like Emmanuel Quickly, they got Miles McBride, they have Quentin Grimes, and they have R.J. Barrett still too.
Mm-hmm.
So like they have some young guys, which I know you probably don't know who half those people are, but
no.
anyways, they're just like young guys that need to develop still. But so
Jeremy
they have
Lin. They had Jeremy Lin at that one
they did
time
have Jeremy Lin.
for like that week.
Shout out to Jeremy Lin. I feel bad for that dude. He had a good
Yeah, he got his
season.
ring.
He had a good season. Came back to Brooklyn. Literally, like broke his leg or broke his ankle like the first game, and just never came back.
He got a ring though.
With the Lakers,
Yeah, I think so.
good for him.
Pretty sure he was on that team.
Yeah, Lin Sander's the most relevant thing about New York Knicks history.
Yeah.
For real.
Literally, it was like a
But-
week.
yeah, for real. Which is insane because yeah, like you said, they're the biggest market, but no one
It
wants
was
to go there.
Lindsay
Facts.
in the membrane.
Nobody likes the Knicks. They just suck. I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with their front office. I think a lot of people don't like James Dolan, who's like the owner of the team, and they don't make the best moves. But like, yeah, it's like you're the biggest market in the entire league. Like
Yeah,
by
maybe the Lakers are
money.
bigger.
yeah, maybe the Lakers, but
And
It's
Celtics
like
probably up there too.
the Lakers were just in the conference finals. So it's
Right,
like,
they got swept.
yeah, so it's like I mean, sure, yeah,
But they're still the
that's a good
Lakers.
point. But they're still and they still
They just won.
they still have. If people were to choose between the Knicks and the Lakers, like if both teams had money, they're choosing the Lakers every time.
Yeah, I
but it's
think
like
so,
for
yeah.
no reason. Like the Knicks
Yeah.
should be able to field a good team, but I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know. I don't watch
I'm
enough
just
to
glad
like
I'm not
know.
a fucking Knicks fan, dude.
I just don't know like
bunch
the
of
depth of
losers
it,
over
like
there.
what they have to do. But I don't know. It's just like every time I'm like, people are like, "How about the Knicks?" I'm like, "They're the Knicks." Like I don't.
For real. And
It's just like I think it can end there.
I think one day they're going to like turn the narrative and actually become like a competitive fucking team because they're on their way there now. And if they stick with
Yeah.
what they're doing, then they should be good. Like they could easily go into next year, trade a couple first round picks, R.J. Barrett and fucking Emmanuel Quickly, and bring in like a superstar if somebody
Yeah.
somebody was selling. But like I'll say that, and then it's like the superstar they bring in is gonna be like Pascal Siakam or something like.
Right.
Who's like a good player, but it's like,
It's
dude,
not-
he's not gonna win you
right,
a championship.
he's not,
We've seen
yeah.
it year in and year out. He won with Kawhi, and he was a good number 2. But like, it's just like they just make such weird decisions. Where I'm like, dude. I mean, even the Julius Randle thing, like he's a good player, and they're what do you call it? Like, he's a good start, but I guarantee you, the first fucking opportunity they get, they're just gonna trade him away for someone else.
Don't get me wrong. It's like but it's like cool too when like the Knicks are good.
Yeah, I mean it's entertaining. They pack
Like,
out
hey.
their MSG's full every single night. It doesn't matter.
Right,
if they
exactly,
suck or
yeah.
if they're the best team in the league. Like
Right.
it's full every single night.
It-
I mean, even in those mellow clips, like the regular season clips, like you'd think it's a playoff game because of the amount of people there and like people
Yeah.
on the sidelines and whatever.
I think
but
the Lakers are kind of the same way. There's like a deeper, richer history there
100%.
of like success, but like or like more recent success
Yeah.
too, like the whole Shaq and Kobe era and everything,
Mhm.
than LeBron. But
Mhm.
like
I mean, they won a championship in the bubble. So
when it
what you want
comes
about
to
the
like
bubble?
when it comes to like LA, really any LA sports team for me, I'm like it's just more of like a spectacle to be like an LA sports team than it is
Yeah.
like
100%.
I think the fans like I'm like they don't even like know what's going on until they're like
Yeah.
deep into the playoffs. And
I
they're
mean,
like,
half the
"All
team, half the fans probably don't even know who's on the team.
right. Right, they're just going to go to the Lakers game
Yeah.
or whatever.
100%. Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I saw somebody talk. This might have been like a JJ Redick thing or something. I forget who was talking about it, but somebody was saying like there's like 6 teams roughly in the NBA that are like competitive every single year, and they just like never really have to rebuild, or if they do, it's for like 1 year, and it's
Yeah.
like It's the Lakers, it's the Celtics, it's the Heat, it's the Golden State Warriors now. It's like there's just certain teams where they just like have it for some reason, and like other teams. But it's like the Knicks should be there too, but they just don't for some. I don't know. It's just weird.
There's a winning culture.
Don't want to play there.
That's the thing. There isn't a winning culture with the Knicks. There's a culture with the Knicks.
Yeah.
There's a spectacle of being on the Knicks, playing in the like, but there's not a winning culture. Like
yeah, but you think there would be?
Like Mark Titus was talking about this on Part of My Take. He's like, I don't understand like Celtics fans like why they're so upset. Like, you had such a good season, blah blah blah. This was prior to Game 7. And he's like, even if you don't win, like, you still had such a good season. Like, I don't understand. He's like, the Celtics don't win. Like, they are a winning franchise. They win games, but, like, they won in 08.
They haven't got over the hump.
And, like, that's it. Like, you know, it's like, he's like, people talk, like, but it's like, you're growing off of the success of the Sox and the Patriots. And then, like, the Bruins are the same thing, honestly. It's like, they're a great team that win a lot, but we haven't won since 2011. We've lost 2 Stanley Cup finals since then, like,
which is wild.
Which sucks, but it's
I found that
like
out the other day actually.
Right, like they lost in 2013, they lost in 2019.
I remember the 2019.
Obviously, this season was like horrific at the end.
Whatever,
but it's the culture of the city is that like the expectation is to win a championship in Boston. Like, it doesn't matter,
which is wild,
which is crazy, but it's just like what it is now. And I was talking to my buddies after the Celtics lost Game 7, and I was like, I think this is not the end of like. This is the end of like a quarter century of dominance in Boston of like.
Yeah, it's. I mean, like Tom Brady leaves town, he was the most dominant player ever, to be honest.
Right, and you have to think about
him and Belichick, whatever you want to fucking.
When
say.
I was our age, like or my age, your age, whatever. Like Boston, they didn't suck, but they weren't great.
No,
like
nobody,
like you know what I'm saying, like
fucking bad. Yeah.
Like there was teams that were good and like made
you
runs
look
and
at like
stuff
the
like
Patriots' history.
The Patriots were horrible until the 2000s.
Until
like
they drafted Tom Brady.
Right, so it's like we might be. I think we're regressing back into that of like. The Bruins are like really good, but they just choked in like the worst loss, debatably, honestly, debatably in sports history. It's like one of the worst losses
keep in mind
ever.
The Panthers are maybe gonna win the cup
right,
this year
and
too.
then
So
like
it's not like it's like they lost to like an AC that lost and get 4 games the next series.
Right, we're coming up and like getting close and not winning. The Red Sox are like okay, they made a nice run a couple years ago.
They've been like whatever,
but they've been fantastic in the 2010s and forward or whatever.
Facts.
And even before that, it's like a nice little spacing of championships.
Yeah.
The Patriots obviously dominate, and it's like
Literally
now I think it's like
probably in any sport.
Yeah. Now it's going back to like, all right, like we'll maybe be contenders, but it's not going to be like rings every single year. I mean, there's been since 2000. Boston has 12 championships since 2000. The next closest city is Pittsburgh with like 5.
Yeah, and what I will say though,
LA and Anaheim combined is like 9.
To speak on like the Celtics, for example, just because that's the sport I watch primarily, and obviously I would say that we did that in like probably 2012 when we traded all our guys, and I think we're back on the rise because it's like, at least just with the Celtics, I can't speak on other teams because I just don't watch enough to like know, and I don't watch the leagues enough to know. But with the Celtics, it's like we drafted every year and we fucking missed on the draft every fucking year, and we just kept missing. We couldn't find a fucking player, and now we have a superstar. Debatable. I mean, he's been in the MVP. Jason Tatum's been in the MVP conversation for the last 2 years. Towards the end, it fizzles out a little bit, but. It is what it is, whatever. He plays with other talented players. Yeah. So it's like, I think you can say that about a lot of teams, but what I will say is you could be the Charlotte Hornets and you could just literally have, they've made the playoffs like twice in their entire franchise history.
Right.
It's like, sure, it sucks to fucking lose in the way that we did because we were definitely the better, like, skilled team in terms of like talent. Yeah. But again, we've been to, Jason Tatum's been in the league for 6 years, been to 4 Eastern Conference Finals.
I think 5 now.
So it's like, what else do you
Jaylen
fucking
Brown's
want
been
from
to
the
5
guy?
or whatever.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown's probably been to 5 because he's had the extra year. But it's like, he needs to. I just think people are so quick to be like, you need success instantly because they see people like Luka, who's like, damn, bro, Luka had 60 he had the 60, 20, and 10 game this year, which is like unfathomable amount of like singular player. But then again, you think like they didn't make the playoffs, so it's like, who the fuck cares? And I understand that like people like there's been a debate since Luka got in the league where it's like Luka versus Tatum. People usually say Luka's better, which is like whatever, but he also, I'm sure if Luka was given the opportunity, he wouldn't want to play for the Mavericks. If him and Tatum could switch teams, I'm sure he would do that in a heartbeat. Right. Whereas his stats go down, sure, but his team success.
You got to think about like who needs to be what.
Yeah, and it's like
Jason Tatum doesn't need to put up Luka numbers to win.
Exactly. Could he do it? Probably, but then it's
Right.
like you see what happens. He rolls his ankle in game 1, which is a freak accident. I mean, not game 1,
Game
in
7.
the first quarter of game 7, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. And obviously, it's a freak accident, bad example, but it's like the toll on your body that it takes to play as a person like Luka is just like
Right.
it's gonna catch up to him, and it's like I'd rather Tatum struggle like this. Struggle again. He's made it to 4 fucking Eastern Conference Finals in his 6 seasons in the league.
Yeah.
Not to mention one of those seasons he had a point guard, Kyrie Irving, who is a ball dominant point guard.
Right.
Say what you want about Kyrie, he's a talent wise, he's probably like one of the best point guards in the league at the time, but he's ball dominant. So it's like
Yeah.
you don't expect Tatum to be taking the ball from Kyrie. Next season, he's got Kemba Walker on his team, or next 2 seasons, I should say, and he can't even fucking walk because his hips are all fucked up.
Yep.
And then it's like, I just feel like, people are just so quick to want the success where it's like, dude, just give it fucking time. Like he can only do so much.
Yeah.
And people are gonna want to play for the Celtics when they see, like when they're like, oh damn, I'm a free agent this year. They've been to 4 Eastern Conference Finals and they have 2 fucking wings that are all NBA wings. Which keep in mind that never happens. Like ever. There's like very, very, very few times where like 2 players on the same team even made all NBA. Never mind 2 forwards, which is like a forward. It's like a wing dominant league. Forward wing is the same thing. Like you see LeBron and AD, they made all NBA before when they were on the same team.
Right.
It happens every so often, but it's like if you look at the all NBA, if you wanted to look it up right now, you can look at the all NBA teams all you want. There's 1 player from every team except the Celtics who have 2 players. It's like, dude, just fucking give it time. Like I don't know. I just feel like at least with the Celtics, like I said, I can't speak on like the fucking Bruins and Patriots. I don't really care about. I mean, whatever. The Patriots are definitely rebuilding, but it's like we had 20 years of success. Like who cares?
Right.
But it's like, dude, with the Celtics, it's like, bro, they just need time. Like that's all they need. They just need time. And it's like role players come and go. You're never gonna draft another Jason Tatum. The odds of you hitting on a draft pick that's as good as Jason Tatum is so fucking slim. It's like it's literally once every decade, pretty much, where you find where your team specifically, I should say, drafts a player like Tatum. Obviously, we see like Anthony Edwards comes in the league. He's pretty solid. They hit on him. I'm blanking on other like players off the top of my head, but I mean like Luka, I guess, whatever. But it's like even like guys like you see like Trae Young, highly touted prospect. He's a phenomenal offense. He's not getting the Hawks over the hump. Like it's clear he's just not good enough at least at the moment.
Right.
LaMelo Ball, he's solid. He's not. I mean, Charlotte didn't make the playoffs. Like it's just I don't know, dude. I just feel like people are so. I don't think people realize how talented people like Jason Tatum are and how infrequently they come around.
Right.
Like it's
exactly.
nearly impossible to land a draft pick like that. That is as good as he has been. I mean, he fucking dunked on LeBron in year 1 in the playoffs.
Right.
We took LeBron to game 7, like in his first year as a rookie. Like it's just like shit like that doesn't happen. So I don't know. I just feel like people are just giving up on the team so fast because I mean recency bias, like you said. I'm sure people are going to be more level-headed about it as time goes on. And yeah, it sucks to lose to Miami, but at the same time, it's like they have a fucking culture over there. They did what they needed to do. They had people play better than they usually play, and to be honest, I'm sure the Celtics just underestimated them. They probably thought that, like, you know what, we're going to make it to the finals, so fuck it, we'll just beat whoever's in front of us.
Yep.
And keep in mind, we had a rookie head coach, too.
Right.
And another thing, this is my last thing, because I know we've been going on for fucking 20 minutes about this topic, but we have a rookie head coach, and all of his assistants left in the offseason. Before. And like a week before training camp, it came out that it came out after the series that a week before training camp is when he took over as head coach. And all his assistants left. Like, what the fuck do you want the guy to do? He's 30. LeBron won 2 championships before he finished college.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, well, he's the worst coach in the league. This guy fucking sucks. Fire him. Why'd you extend him? Blah, blah. It's like, dude, just give it fucking time. I understand people don't want to be patient, but, like, god damn.
Yeah.
We've been to 4 Eastern Conference Finals. Like, we made it to the finals last year.
Right.
And Tatum got a taste for it. He figured out, damn, I can't play the way I usually do because this is how they're going to guard me in the finals, so I need to figure out how to make plays better. Comes back this season, phenomenally better than he was last season.
Right.
Regardless of what the stats say. I mean, just watching the guy play, you're just like, right, he's clearly elevated his game since last season. And even the same with Jaylen Brown. He fucking can't dribble, whatever. He couldn't do it last year, whatever. But he's worked on other things in the offseason. He's gotten better. Regardless of what people want to say, he's the most consistent player on our team. Like every single night, Jaylen Brown is a lock for 20 points. Every single night. And sure, in the playoffs it's different. People can hone in on you, whatever, but like if you were to bet on one of the 2 superstars, I guarantee you're probably feeling better about betting on like Jaylen Brown just cuz just more consistent.
Yeah.
But it's just growing pains, bro. And I feel like people are just super fucking impatient, and they think that like shit happens overnight. It doesn't. Like Miami's been the same team for 3 years. They didn't make a move at the deadline. They were the only team in the entire league that didn't make a move at the deadline because they were like, "Fuck it, bro. We'll just ride with our guys." So I don't know. I just feel like people are overreacting.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
It's my 15 fucking minute Celtics rant.
yeah. Well, I mean, we've been good in the modern era, you
We'll
know,
continue to be good.
and we'll continue to be good. But I'll tell you when we weren't that great. The 1960s.
Okay.
The 1960s, the Celtics actually were very fucking good. But
I
other
was
than
gonna
that,
say,
other than
that's
that,
like, hold
that's the
on.
last time they were fantastic.
Yeah.
Boston sports was not that good except for them.
No, facts.
I think that actually might have been like when we 8-peated was like the 60s.
Yeah, I think they won every title except 2 in the 60s.
So yeah, so they were really good then.
Yeah.
1960s were wild. That's
I've heard.
And you're gonna hear some more. The 60s have always like been like, I don't know why, just like a like always interested me. Like I think it's just like an insane time in American history, and there's so many like major events that happened in the 1960s,
Okay. I'm listening.
and I think it's like the first really like the start of the like now accepted what's like the word I'm looking for,
Marginalized
like
communities.
no, it's like well yeah the start of like the theory that like you can't trust the government and like their
Okay.
big brother thing of like
Mm-hmm.
the whatever. So we'll go over some major events.
Edward
I mean, there
Snowden.
was like 5 or 6 major assassinations that happened in the 1960s in America.
I know one of them.
Yeah, right. In America. And we'll just start with those. We'll start with the assassinations. 1963, assassination of John F. Kennedy. Insane. Last president to be assassinated. Not the last attempt on a president. I believe what's it called? Oh, sorry. Important text. In a minute. What? Pause here. Hang in there, baby.
Definitely up there with the assassination of Franz Ferdinand. The assassination of JFK.
I mean, yeah.
That's good. They got to be on a Mount Rushmore of political assassinations.
Yeah, so like think about alright, so just break it down like how in
Driving in the car.
if you really think about it, right? Alright. Sorry, I'm like trying to like hone my thoughts here. John F. Kennedy, the president of the United States of America.
Yeah.
The president.
Yeah.
Think about how important that is now. Like, people can say whatever you want about whoever's president. You don't have to like
You're
them,
saying
blah, blah, blah.
president as in like...
Think about how
or
important the role
important
is.
as in... Yeah, okay.
How insane,
'Cause I think it was more important back then than now.
The
to be
most
honest, but
powerful person in the world, debatably,
yeah, the
is
face
the president
of the,
of the
face
United
of the
States.
biggest country in the world, yeah.
They shot him and killed him on national television
Yeah.
in the middle of a crowded parade.
Is there footage of that? Can you watch that?
Are you being serious?
I'm dead ass.
Yeah, the Zapruder film. You never heard of the Zapruder film?
I always thought there was like a... I always knew that people knew how it went down,
the
but I was
Zapruder
like...
film is like one of the most famous pieces of.
But I was like, can you like find it right now?
Yeah,
Like,
you
if
can
I-
look it up right now.
Oh,
You can
okay.
watch in slow motion, high definition, John F. Kennedy's brain
That's
get
crazy.
blown out of his head. I've seen
I
it a
always thought that was
thousand
like
times.
a meme that like people...
No,
Okay.
we watched it in like 6th grade. It's
Hard.
fucking, it's nuts.
That's culture right there.
That's culture, baby.
It's an American dream.
John F. Kennedy assassinated in 1963.
Yeah, that is pretty
Malcolm
fucking
X
wild. Think about it.
assassinated in 1965. Martin Luther King Jr. assassinated in 1968.
Yep.
Robert Kennedy assassinated in 1968. All these guys.
That's fucked up.
Dave Chappelle had like a little bit about it, but he was just
Dave
I-
Chappelle,
not like a
assassinated in
comedy-
1966.
right, not a comedy bit, but he was like made a good point. He's like, think about like the pressure that these people are under. He's like, if you in the 60s stood up and said anything that people disagreed with or that went against like not what people said, but like what the
Yeah.
government, hey, this is what we want,
For real.
and then a political figure or a public figure comes out and says, I don't agree with that, they just fucking shot you dead in the
Just
street.
pull your fucking brains out.
And like
And it just happened.
seemingly nothing's happened. Like
Who polices the
massive
police?
controversy around the JFK assassination. Obviously, massive controversy
Yeah.
around. If you look into the Martin Luther King Jr. assassination, like the story that's
I mean,
accepted
that one's just like...
versus what
sloppy.
actually is like, it's incredibly sloppy. Like it's like
Yeah.
very clearly not what happened,
Yeah.
and it's like you think like whatever. I mean, people
you
talk
learn that
about
shit in school too, and they like try to tell you like the fucking...
Yeah.
The one that like we're supposed to like know or whatever.
even if you want to go and take a stretch of like public figures like Tupac and Biggie being killed, and they still never really came up with their killers, or like massively popular, like.
Which those ones are a little bit more obviously off to like the conspiracy theory side,
Right?
like,
but it's like
they don't necessarily have as much of an impact as like
before social media and all this stuff. It's like you could just get away with killing incredibly important people. So those are just assassinations. I mean, there's so many major events. The first sit-in, February 1st, 1964, black college students sit down at an all-whites only lunch counter and refuse to move, sparking others to sit in and be arraigned all throughout the South. So, like...
what was that called?
It was called the first sit-in. That's what it was called.
Oh, okay.
So it was like whites only could sit at this
I thought they had
lunch
like a
table.
name for the group or whatever, but
4 black students came over and sat down, and it sparked a revolution of finally these people standing up and saying, we're not doing this anymore, like we want rights, blah, blah, blah.
We're over this shit.
The Freedom Riders consisted of 7 black people, 6 whites who boarded a bus in Birmingham and Anniston, Alabama, to enforce the new bus terminal law that stated bus terminals could not be segregated.
Mm-hmm.
So they came out with the rule finally, all right, we're not segregating anymore, but it was still like
it was fresh.
Years and years and years and years of just ungodly discrimination that
exactly.
Fine, you can do it. Go ahead, try
for
like see what happens. Again, that sparks a huge revolution. The March on Washington, 250,000 people show up to the Lincoln Memorial and Martin Luther King's speech. He gives the I have a dream speech. 1963, assassination of John F. Kennedy.
Wild. Say that number again. How many people?
250,000 people.
Which is fucking insane.
It's an impossible amount of people.
The 1960s.
Right.
How do you even like get the word out to that many people?
Just word of mouth.
Fucking
like,
insane.
Unbelievable.
I don't even think you could pull that many people for anything nowadays. Maybe like the World Cup.
Yeah.
Because like it's planned 4 years ahead of time.
4 years ahead of time, social media, TV, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
1964, the Beatles arrive. Massive thing.
Yep.
Their first appearance in the United States.
Yep.
65, assassination of Malcolm X.
Which is wild because I know somebody who didn't know they were British, which I feel like, anyways.
Weird.
Continue.
1965 as well, the first teach-in, which is similar to the first sit-in. First teach-in at the University of Michigan at Ann Arbor, 12 hours of speeches and discussions opposing the Vietnam War and segregation, inclusion, all things like that. 1965, the Voting Rights Bill was passed. Made it illegal to deny any citizen of America the right to vote based on their color or race. You have to think about that.
Classic.
It's 2023. I have black friends. You have black friends. It's like it's impossible to even think like why the fuck would they not be able to do whatever I can
to
think.
vote.
1965.
Yeah,
that's 10 years before my mother was born.
Which is that's fucking
they're
wild.
finally allowed to vote.
Our grandfather was alive.
He was alive. Allowed to vote.
Alive and well.
Alive.
I should add.
And probably not doing enough, honestly. No. We need to have a word with him after this. 3 years later, assassination of Martin Luther King. This is all in the 60s. This is a 10-year span. Think about like how quick 10 years goes by. Like
for real. All Bill Russell was putting up buckets for the Boston Celtics.
First black player in the NBA.
Thanks. First player coach too.
First player
unrelated
coach,
to
exactly.
race, but
the Berrigan Brothers protest, 1968. Berrigan Brothers publicly burned 378 stolen draft records with homemade napalm to protest the Vietnam War.
Good shit. Doing God's
1968, assassination of Robert Kennedy.
Yeah, what is that one all about? What was
Robert Kennedy was running for
he was like a senator or something, wasn't he?
He was the attorney general.
Okay.
No,
he was a political figure.
He was the attorney general, I think. Then he was a senator, and then in 1968 he was running as a Democratic nomination for president.
Because there's a bunch of Kennedys.
Which is crazy. So we'll get into. I'll dive deeper into some of these. 1969 Woodstock, massive event.
Classic.
Like huge. 1973, which is past the 70s, but the Vietnam era started in the 60s.
Vietnam War.
U.S. military involvement in Vietnam ends. And then 75 is the end of the Vietnam War, which started in the 60s. I think it might have actually started in the 50s, technically.
Whatever,
whatever. So I'll go a little more in-depth on this. The Robert Kennedy assassination, we'll talk about that. So this is like a little, not lesser known, but obviously it's kind of shadowed by the JFK assassination.
I was trying to remember because I think the local one is Ted Kennedy, I believe.
Correct.
The one from, okay.
Yeah.
I swear he had like 9 siblings or some shit, or like 8 siblings.
And they've all been killed or like died or.
Yeah.
It's wild. They have like a curse on that family.
Yeah, for real.
But not even. It just goes to show. Like it's like.
Yeah, it's not a curse.
It just goes to show like they're against like.
Yeah.
Like
they're like good people.
You know what? Before I even get into this, I'll go a little bit farther back. The Bay of Pigs. So the Bay of Pigs invasion of
Cuba.
This was in 1960. Kennedy was killed in 63. This was 61, I think this happened. The Bay of Pigs invasion, April 17th. Cuban exile invasion forces known as Brigade 2506 landed at the beaches alongside the Bay of Pigs, immediately became overwhelmed with fire. Cuban planes strafed the invaders, sank 2 escort ships, destroyed half the exiles' forces. So we were going into Cuba to try to kill Castro.
Yep.
There's also a great book. I think it's 101 Ways to Kill Castro or something like that. There was like 130 attempts on his life or something like that.
My God.
Like they tried to kill this guy in crazy different
Wait,
ways.
real quick sidetrack because it's about Castro.
Yeah.
The Denver Nuggets like subreddit, they're posting like it'll be like post this to scare like a Heat fan. It's just like a picture of Fidel Castro. It's bad funny. And then like the Heat fans are like posting like pictures of like burnt chicken nuggets. They're like post this or like upvote this to scare a Nugget fan. Like just like
Yeah.
burnt
So they
chicken.
think they think the Bay of Pigs is like one of the bigger the invasion of the Bay of Pigs is like one of the bigger events that led to the assassination of Kennedy, because the Bay of Pigs invasion was failed for several reasons: poor planning, underestimating the enemy. So the CIA was basically like, we're just going to show up with an overwhelming force and just take Cuba and just find him and kill him. So they show up basically trying to do this big dick thing and
bunch
like
of war crimes going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cuba was just like, we're not letting you take this.
Yeah.
So JFK
Just botched.
signs off on this like very reluctantly.
Yeah.
He was like not a fan of the idea, but he was like pressured by his
very
cabinet.
anti-war. Like
Yeah,
everyone,
very
that's
anti-Vietnam.
known.
Very
That's-
anti-Vietnam. Did
Yeah.
not want to be in Vietnam.
Facts.
And he signs off on this like very reluctantly, just from pressure from his cabinet of like, we have to do this. This has to end. Blah blah blah. Like
Yeah.
you have to remember, this is also like Korea was, they call it the Forgotten War, which was in the
Okay.
50s.
Yeah. I
but
forgot about it.
like exactly, it was more of like one of the first wars that was kind of like, why are we doing this? But like, all right, like
and
it's
they were like anti-communism.
because you're coming out of the Second World War, which
Yeah.
is when everyone's drafted, so many people are killed, but
Yeah.
against like a lot of odds, like the Americans
Prevailed.
and Allies all fought and like overcame and beat Japan and Germany and all
Yeah.
their allies and stuff like that, where it didn't seem like it was possible.
Took care of business, if you will.
Stopped like crazy atrocities, all that stuff. So everyone's gung ho about like Uncle Sam and do this and this is the right thing to
fight for your
do. Go
country.
fight for your country.
Yeah.
When you get out of high school, you're not going to work. You're going to war. Like,
Yeah.
and people are for it. Everyone is like,
Give me the
there's
gun.
pride. There's a sense of nationalism, like a massive sense of nationalism in the country at the time. The 50s come around. Korea happens. It's starting to die down a little bit, but people are still pretty gung ho. Then Vietnam comes, and it makes no fucking sense. The
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
us being in Vietnam makes no fucking sense.
Yeah.
It really doesn't.
was
It wasn't our
just fighting
war
just
to fight in. The Gulf of Tonkin incident, which happened on August 2nd, 1964. There was 2 North Vietnamese torpedo boats that allegedly attacked 2 American boats or something along the lines of that. And basically the U.S. used that as an excuse to be like, they're attacking us, let's go to war.
Yeah.
It's been later
fucking
debunked
poked the
too.
fuck out of them for
To-
like fucking 20 minutes.
Literally, it's been like debunked since that like it wasn't as
Yeah.
what it was said. And,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
blah blah blah, and like we shouldn't have even retaliated.
Facts.
Really, like
Yeah.
it wasn't as bad as
I
it said.
think I read about that before too.
So that whole thing happens. They go into Vietnam. 70% of people that went or were drafted to Vietnam, like in a poll, had never heard of Vietnam. They didn't know what
The
it was.
country?
Yeah, they
I'm not
didn't like.
surprised. 'Cause they were just taking anybody they could
It's a
get.
completely unwinnable war from the beginning. Like it's basically the way I would equate it to would be like if you had let's say you had a paintball fight at Weymouth High.
There's one of
And you
and
invited a bunch
15
of kids
them.
from fucking Springfield
Yeah.
who have never been to Weymouth High.
Yeah.
And you're like, you got to go into Weymouth High and
Yeah, and just figure it out.
take out these guys or whatever.
Facts.
It's like, obviously we know the layout.
Yeah,
we know the ins
exactly.
and outs. We know the nooks and
Yep.
crannies and stuff. So that's what it was. It was just like, just send as many guys as we can and we'll just overwhelm them. And the Vietnamese were just like
They're like, what the fuck
guerrilla
are they
warfare.
doing?
They
Yeah.
knew the territory.
Also, they don't give a fuck about war crimes if they're being invaded. Like, they're not gonna
Right.
follow like traditional fucking war standards where you line up in the fucking field and you fucking aim across at your
yeah.
enemy. Like,
And so many people have said it too. You can go and look up interviews and stuff like that from World War II, where it was like the only thing that stopped the Japanese from fighting was when we dropped
yeah, when we fucking killed
nukes on
hundreds of
Hiroshima
thousands of their
and
people. Yeah.
Nagasaki. Like, it's like until then they were not going to surrender. Like it
Yeah.
was the invasion of Tokyo was going to happen. That didn't,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all that stuff. And like, it's the same thing with Vietnam. Like you go and you invade this country, and they're like, if we just meet them with like incredible force,
Yeah, that's just
then
another fucking
they'll just
same
submit, and they
shit,
just
different
didn't
story.
submit. So we lose a ton of casualties, unbelievable numbers of. Now it's coming back, and it's starting to get reported in America during the 60s. Hey, we're like not doing that well. In
Yeah,
Vietnam.
we're losing.
So the natural response is like, all right, well then let's get the fuck out of there. What is to win here? Like,
But then people were like, oh, well, all these people already died, so we have to fucking win
right
this
now
shit.
it's becoming a new thing.
Yeah.
Kennedy gets assassinated. FDR takes over. I believe it was FDR took over. Who's very
No, FDR.
Was it FDR?
I think it was Nixon or something, wasn't it?
No, I'm pretty sure it was FDR.
I don't know. We should know, but
yeah, I know. I definitely.
I don't think it was FDR. I'm not gonna lie.
Shit. This is gonna put a little pause.
Keep going. I'll
So, Lyndon B. Johnson. I'm sorry,
Okay,
LBJ, not
that's
FDR. So he was the
LeBron
vice
James.
president at the time, and he's very LeBron James. This is all LeBron's fault. How does this affect his legacy? How does Vietnam affect LeBron's legacy? So Lyndon B. Johnson, who's very pro-war, and Kennedy, who's very anti-war, because Kennedy is. You have to realize, even as the president, you're not like. I think most people know this, but you're not calling all the shots.
Yeah.
You're the guy in charge. You're the one
you
who
just sign off the last fucking check mark if you want to go to
the
war.
literal term, the president, is the one who presides. So you are
Yeah.
presiding over the nation. You're not really like technically even like by the
You're
letter
really
of the
just the
law. You're not
face.
even like in charge. You're
Yeah.
just the one who's representing the nation.
Yeah.
So JFK is saying, I don't like this war. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to be in this war. We're losing guys like crazy. He's
Keep in
World
mind,
War
for
II.
those who don't know, he fought in World War
He
II.
fought in World War
He was
II.
in the
Decorated
fucking
war
World
hero.
II.
Like,
yeah. Saved like his whole crew from
right.
fucking
So this is
dying.
not a guy who's like
swam like 40 fucking miles or some shit.
yeah. This is not a guy who's like doesn't know what he's talking
Yeah.
about. He's
He's
seen
very
the
much
horrors
well
of
seen.
war, and
Exactly.
he's like, I don't. This is not necessary.
Yeah.
We're losing too many guys. We're losing young men.
He was also like 18 when he fought. So
Right. So they want to pull. He wants to pull out of Vietnam. He's super anti-CIA. He doesn't like the CIA because he says that the government like shouldn't have secrecy over its
Yeah.
citizens. It should be an open book.
Yeah.
We should know what's going on. The
Yep.
CIA is very covert, very whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So then the Bay of Pigs happens. He's basically like, see what the fuck I told you? I
Yeah.
told you this wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
You guys want to do it anyways. I'm shutting this shit down. I am shutting down the CIA. No more CIA.
Yep.
The CIA is like, bet. Kills him
For
in the
real.
middle of a fucking parade.
Fucking wild.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Allegedly.
And even still, if you go back to the assassination when they talk about Lee Harvey Oswald, who was the guy who allegedly killed JFK, you can look at him. It's like you can. This is like
It would
not even
make no
hard info to
sense.
find. He's super pro Russia. He's got
Yeah.
a Russian wife. He's like whatever. Like, and he's been investigated by the by the CIA. So immediately that should be a
It's
red
easy.
flag of like,
Okay.
why is this guy in the country if he's clearly,
True.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He's just like.
And
the
they try to
fucking
pin it
fall
on
man.
him. So they're
Yeah.
like, how did you know about him?
Yeah.
Like almost immediately. How did you know about this guy? Like
Yeah.
or whatever. Like
True.
so why is he here if you knew so much about him?
For real.
Stuff like that. So like
Fake name probably.
the whole 60s is just shrouded in secrecy and conspiracy like this.
I mean,
I
that's
mean,
the
there's
point.
also major events like the moon landing and stuff, which
We talked about that.
we talked about that last episode. Say what you want about it. A massive sway and like just a really, it could have been even a ploy of like, we're America. Look how good we are. Blah blah blah. Like
Yeah.
gung ho, go America.
Yeah.
These guys are coming back from Vietnam, and
I mean, not most of them.
well, most of them aren't. But I'm saying
Yeah.
you come back from World War II. It's there's fucking millennials. There's Gen
Yeah.
X. There's baby boomers. There's
Yeah.
the greatest generation, which is those
Allegedly.
guys who fought in World War II. They're called
Yeah.
the greatest generation for a reason.
Yeah.
They're wildly celebrated for a good reason. These guys are coming back from Vietnam and being screamed at. They're being have
Oh,
things
yeah.
thrown at them.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like this is
It was a
baby
lose-lose
killers. There's
situation.
Massive protests in the street.
Yeah.
Kent State happens where the National Guard's just
Nope.
firing on college students at this
Fucking
who are
insane
like
as well.
like, and that was I think in 1970.
Well, regardless.
Like
mean, the
things
war
like that.
ended,
It's
but-
just like I think this is where the division really started in the America of like, are you this team or are you this team?
Yeah.
Because it used to be where the United States, everyone's for the most part on the same team on the bigger issues, and now
Sure.
it's people are
ones that
finally
actually
starting to stand
matter.
up and like the introduction of like LSD and psilocybin mushrooms and all that stuff
Yep.
is starting to boom. And it's like all things like that where people are just like the hippies and free thinkers and stuff like that. Because usually it used to be like, this is what you're gonna do. I'm in charge. I'm telling you what to do. And for the first time in America, it's people that are like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think that way. I don't
Yeah.
agree with what you're saying.
Facts.
and it's caused
Which makes sense
massive
because you're
division.
fucking sending people's children to Vietnam when they don't want to go, and they also they don't see like a like you said, they show up and they're like, what are we doing here again? What's the point of this whole
Right,
thing?
even and
And
there's
they're like,
guys,
oh, just go do what I say. Like,
guys in war too. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm
obviously you
saying.
have guys in World War II. You have guys in Korea that are. I mean,
People
war is
just
hell
like
and
being in-
fucking it's
yeah.
terrible, but we're here for a reason. Now it's guys who are like,
okay, never mind.
I've been drafted. I don't have a say. I'm in the middle of this fucking jungle that
That's what
I've
I'm
never
saying.
heard of, and it's like all my buddies are dying around me.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm fighting for.
No
like,
one knows what the objective is. Like,
Right.
it just doesn't make any sense. I think
massive amounts of war crimes, just horrible. Like
Yeah.
it's all about body count and blah blah blah. Like it becomes a super ugly situation in the sense of like we're not even looking to win this war. We're looking to leave with some pride.
And then it's like I said earlier, it's like a lose-lose situation because like the people who are there in the fucking war and they're seeing all their fucking friends and shit die, and then they're like, oh well, by the way, you're coming home now, and it's like, well, why the fuck did we not do this a week ago before
Right.
all my friends just fucking died type of shit.
right.
Like,
It went on for.
so it's like those people, even those people who were like super fucking patriotic and they were like ready to fight a war, they don't give a fuck what the motive is, they just want to go fucking shoot things and whatever. Like even those people are like, well, now what? Because now we're just going home and we didn't win, we didn't lose. There's no
right.
all we've done is lost people, but we didn't like. There's no outcome of this war,
Yeah.
and
So
it's still going on technically, isn't it?
no, it ended in
Wasn't there like a
1975.
fucking? I thought there was like a thing that like it just never ended. Like it was like there was never like an official like. peace treaty
We
signed or
withdrew,
whatever.
and like I don't really know exactly, but it
thought
started
I
in
saw something before,
1955. The Vietnam War officially started in 1955.
Okay,
Officially ended in 1975.
maybe I'm thinking of a different one, but
But it's like, yeah, you're like 60,000 guys died in
Yeah.
Vietnam. Like fatal casualties,
60,000
plenty of guys
people which
lost,
is insane.
MIA, everything like that. And that's just what they reported. So who fucking knows?
I mean, I'm sure it was at least a little bit more.
Then it launches us into the Cold War in the 80s and like Reagan and all that stuff. So it's like the 60s, I think, is just such a pivotal era in American history of when it started to be like, I don't think I trust my government. I don't like,
Yeah,
let's take a deeper look at what's going on. And then you take that deeper look at what's going on, and what you're seeing is that, I'm right about what I'm saying, but there's nothing I can really do about it.
yeah,
Like
100%.
that kind of
That's
thing.
what I was gonna say. Like people, I think people just realize too, like especially with all the protests of the Vietnam War and shit, and like say what you want, but like the protests and stuff, like that shit worked. Like people, they withdrew, like you said, they didn't just
Right.
keep going, fucking running into a wall for no reason. So like, I think people also saw that type of shit where they're like, oh, we didn't want to fight this war. They're finally bringing people home. I mean, not that like they're listening to us, but like at least there's like some sort of like fucking, we have some sort of influence potentially, as if we really fucking put our mind to it.
Yeah.
Especially like with civil rights shit too. Like, I mean that changed. I mean, if that type of stuff didn't happen, like who knows where we would be today? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, people today that are old that are fucking still living in that era that are like, just. I mean, I don't want to fucking like go down like that path or whatever, but like, you know what I mean? Like, there's there's definitely old people out there that still think in the way that it was in the 50s and the 60s, where like they're gonna pretend that they're not racist, but like at the end of the day, like if that's how you live your life, then obviously that's how you still live your life. Like most people aren't gonna be what do you call it, like mature enough to, you know, be like, all right, well maybe I was wrong back in the day. It's like, nah, I'm just gonna pretend that I'm chill, but in reality I don't fucking like black people still, because that's
Right.
how it was and that's how it should be. And
So,
like,
yeah.
so if that type of shit never happened, like those type of people would still just, the people that are like, that maybe have shifted their, you know, their mindset or whatever, like that, they would just be not even, they would not
Yeah.
care. They would just continue to live the way they lived before, and you never know how society would be right now, you know?
Right. So it's like you think about how terrible the Vietnam War was, and that happens in the 60s, but really it's overshadowing all the things that are also happening in America in the 60s. So it's
Mhm.
like you have the Vietnam War. People hate it. Some people, the old school military guys are like, we just got to keep fighting, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
A lot of the citizens are saying, hey, this is ridiculous. We need to bring our guys home. At the same time, like you said, you have all these horrible things that are happening here, too. You have marches on Washington. You have the end of segregation, the right to vote bill passes, all that stuff like that. So you can look at it on the surface and be like, okay, like there's some good things happening. But really, it's like under the surface of these bills and legislations that are passed, it's still like incredibly hostile in America.
Yeah.
And like still people are not getting the rights that they've been given legally and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, what was that? What's that video? I should know the name of it. Like, I should know who these people are, but I keep forgetting their names. It's like the kids that are like walking to school after the bill passes that they're allowed to go to the school now, and like they have like riot control with them because people are like forming mobs outside of the fucking public school to like yell at these kids and throw shit at. They're literally like children.
No, yeah, I know.
So it's
Yeah,
like,
I know
dude,
what you're talking about.
Like, so clearly the law doesn't matter. It's just the people's mindset.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so
Like, I feel like the government was just like, oh, we changed the law, so have fun. It's like, dude, that's just not how it works, obviously. Like,
yeah, just because you say it's the law
Yeah.
doesn't mean that
no one
people are
gives a
going to have
fuck,
to adhere to it. So
yeah,
it's like
exactly.
you have all these things that are implemented at the beginning of the 60s to give black people rights, and it takes a very long time until it's like finally
people would
accepted
argue
or whatever.
it's like not even accepted.
And you could
still.
still say that, like,
Yeah.
yes, it's obviously
I
far better
understand.
than it is
Yeah.
then. But it's like, I mean, even late into the 70s, 80s, there's still terrible racism in America, and there still is
100%.
today. But in the not that any racism is
I know what
worse
you mean.
than
Yeah,
any
yeah.
other,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah, I got you.
it's like it still takes so long for these things to like finally become accepted in like the way that life is.
I would say the difference nowadays.
But the flip
is that
side, the flip side of that too is that like it's finally done. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's finally being addressed by the people that are in charge, by the people that are put in power. It's finally like, all right, it's been long enough. Like we're actually, we're gonna like put these paper and pen to law.
Fun. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and it like. It is a stepping stone. So there's a ton of negative things that happen, but there's also a lot of positives that did happen in the 60s.
And what I will say too is like nowadays, like I think if you're, I guess if you were thinking back then, like if you're openly a racist, like it wasn't it was just like a thing. Like people didn't like recently, like right after the laws were changed, obviously, like people were like I said, they were rioting outside the schools because children were going to their schools. Whereas like nowadays, I think if you're like racist, you're pretty openly shamed, and like people don't.
Right.
Like for the most part, obviously, I don't know. Like there's probably specific communities around in fucking different parts of the country that people like will just whatever do their thing, but like in general, I would say like most people were like not as racist as they were before. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's a good way to put it, but you know what I mean.
There's
like,
much more equality now than there was back then.
Yeah.
Like
For sure.
But
Which is, I mean, that shit is just, and like you said, like it had to be done eventually, so it's just more of just like ripping the Band-Aid off, and like obviously it should have never happened in an ideal society, but like, it also, in addition to that, it happened in the 60s, it probably should have happened 20 years before that. And then, yeah, like you said, all that shit's happening home, then people are going to fucking fight a war they don't know anything about. It's like, just a fucking, like clusterfuck. I don't even know. Like if you were just a normal citizen back then, I don't even know like what you would think. Like what would you even like?
I think it's just dreary, like very
just,
like
just can't like you just
demoralizing.
Yeah, and like and that's after the president that pretty much everyone seemingly wanted. I mean, I don't know if that's. I don't think the election
JFK?
results. Yeah, I don't know if the election results.
I think he was pretty popular. Like, I mean, there were definitely people that didn't like him for like any other president, but I think he was like widely regarded as a pretty.
And looking back on it,
good,
obviously, like
good for the country president. At least.
Looking back on it, people say he's probably like one of the best. But like, I mean, like in the time of like when he was elected, I feel like it was pretty.
Yeah,
he was
in
pretty
hindsight,
like well liked still, even back then.
He seemingly had the country's best interests in mind.
Yeah,
and like probably the most relatable, likable guy.
Yeah.
At the time,
for real.
And like, I just think it's insane to be watching on TV and just like.
And that's what I don't understand. It's
and
like
media was so different too. Like the news, if like Walter Cronkite when he delivered the message that JFK was dead.
Yeah.
Imagine now.
Or something.
Like, if tomorrow we woke up and Joe Biden was assassinated.
Yeah.
It would be all over every channel. It would be all over every news outlet across the world, across social media, everything.
Mm-hmm.
When Walter Cronkite in the 60s, in 1963, delivered the message that JFK had been killed, he literally, you can watch this video, he comes on television, and he's like, the date, I don't remember the exact date now, it's November, whatever, let's call it November 23rd. He's like, the date is November 23rd, 1963.
The fire drill announcement.
Literally,
announcement at the
no, this is not radicalized or dramatized or anything. There was no like grabs for clicks or anything. He just comes on. He's like, the date is November 23rd, 1963. The time is 4:20 p.m. on the East Coast. Yeah, right.
That's so
President John F. Kennedy has been assassinated in Dallas, Texas. His body will be exhumed by a coroner.
Yeah.
Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson is being sworn in as we spoke. and then it just goes and
It
cuts
just-
away,
Yeah.
and that's like
It's like tragic news.
it's insane.
Just
Like
go back to whatever the fuck they were talking about.
yeah, and then it just goes back to whatever 4
Which
channels they had on TV. Like it's
I will say as well, something that's crazy that makes you think that it might have even been like a conspiracy, I guess you could say. Like, how has it not happened since? Because there's been people that I know that like they're so. I mean, there's people like in our town that you see drive around that have signs and shit that say like "fuck Joe Biden" and stuff. I'm
Right.
like, dude, how like. There's so many people on, like, because now, like you said, it's more divided than it's ever been. So you think that, like, somebody would fucking take a chance nowadays to,
I'm just
like,
telling you because it's like you couldn't get because
I mean, you can't
if
get away
you
with it
think back to
regardless.
it was at the time you're like they got the guy.
Yeah.
You got Lee Harvey Oswald.
But also maybe they wouldn't
he's been
have
arraigned. He's
if they
being
didn't
brought in.
plan it.
Jack Ruby steps in and shoots him in that very famous photo, and
Yeah.
it's like now that guy's dead. So now it's like, here's the guy who did it. Fuck that guy. Bang! This guy steps in and kills
Everyone's
him.
like, yeah.
And everyone's like,
fuck that
yeah,
guy.
that
Yeah.
guy fucking.
So they
he's
don't
dead.
care about penalizing the guy who just killed the guy who killed the president.
But in reality, he got away with it because you look deeper into it, and not to be like tinfoil hat conspiracy.
Sure, yeah,
it was
yeah.
more than likely that
Facts.
our own government who did
That's
it.
what
Like
I'm saying. Like
they're the only ones who could get away with it.
Yeah, no, they only found the guy because he was their guy.
And the
Like,
only other assassination attempt since was on Ronald Reagan by a guy who was openly crazy, and he said he was trying to impress an actress. I can't remember her name, but like
Marilyn Monroe.
I don't remember who it was. But he like that was his reasoning. Was like I was just trying to impress fucking
Just wanted a
whatever.
Frosty.
And he survived. Reagan survived, but like that's the last attempt on a president since, and it was very clearly just a crazy person. Like
Yeah, facts.
just and that was before they had this. Like I mean, they had the Secret Service and stuff, but it wasn't
Sure.
the
It
level of
wasn't-
security that it
yeah.
is today or whatever.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I mean, it's insane. It's just like I think it's just an unbelievable time to live through in the country
Yeah.
of like where things flipped from like uniformed by the book. This is how the American person is. This is the American dream. This is what you do if you're a good citizen. To
Yeah.
like complete chaos
Yeah, just
of like
fucking shit show. at
maybe
the end of the 60s.
this country isn't what we thought it was.
Yep.
And I don't have to think the way that I want to. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, a lot of good things came out of it, but like, god damn. I mean, I can't even imagine like what it must have been like to live through that era. Like,
And it's not even like you can ask people because they all have a fucking their own take on it as well. Like they only can speak from their own experience. It's not like they have like social media from back then or shit like that. You know what I mean? Like
right.
like we asked our grandfather, he'd tell us how it was to be alive in the 60s, but like that's just from his point of view in Weymouth, Massachusetts.
Right. And think
So
about
it's
like now the military is entirely voluntary. Our military is
I feel like
entirely
every year they say
voluntary.
like that's not for long. They're going to be a draft soon. But
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
that's-
you
don't
have to
think it's
sign up
ever
for the
gonna
draft
happen.
when you're 18 or whatever, but it's like it's never gonna
I don't
happen
think, I
again,
don't
most
think it's ever
likely.
gonna happen. There's too many people that, at least that I know, that are like gung ho, like ready to fucking
Right.
ready to fucking
The whole
go.
but back then it's like you have to.
Yeah,
it
you
is-
have a choice.
Legally, like you have to. This is your number got called. Report here on Monday. And
That's fucking
it's
crazy, bro.
insane, dude. It is
It
insane.
was like that before too. For the other wars prior to that too. Like
Guys were school teachers and just like
you're like, sorry,
coaches and accountants,
fuck them kids.
but now you got to leave that job. And then it's if you're not getting drafted, you go work in this steel mill
You gotta
and
go fucking
make bullets,
for
for
and shit.
like
yeah.
And it's just like
Shit's
it's insane. It's an incredibly different time that I think is like important that isn't forgotten in American
Yeah.
history.
I think people are gonna say that about this time.
Yeah.
40 years. They're gonna be like, what the fuck happened in the 2020s?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
2010s.
Yeah.
Like, LeBron James got 3 rings.
Like the socks are pretty good.
Yeah, I saw like a video one time, like a thumbnail. It's like, how does the fall of Constantinople affect LeBron's legacy? I haven't watched it. I need to watch it because it's like an actual YouTube video. Like it's like 10 minutes long or some shit.
Right.
So
Just like where they like
they
Yeah, I think I know
somehow
exactly what you're
connect
talking
it.
about.
Yeah. Anyways, I gotta take a piss. So.
yeah. Well,
wrap
we'll
this
wrap
up.
it up here.
What an absolute ride today.
Yeah.
Talking about the
Hopefully you
60s,
stuck
know?
around.
Oh yeah, they stuck around. They'll be here. Next week, tune in for some more wonderful content.
All right. See you guys.